Hey viewers, Michael Warren here from Essential Guitar Lessons, and let's analyse the song Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. We'll look at the chords used, what key or keys they're in, and what scales they're using for the solo, and anything else that's interesting in the song. So Comfortably Numb is off the 11th studio album The Wall by Pink Floyd. The Wall was released in 1979, and the single Comfortably Numb was released as a single in 1980 and was written by Dave Gilmour and Roger Waters. So when we're looking at songs, I always like to put them in context, but when it came out I was just a little kid and probably running around playing tag or swinging on the monkey bars over in Australia playing British Bulldogs. But I do remember in high school all the stoners listened to the album and it was always played on the radio. Now the album is about an alienated rock star named Pink, and in Comfortably Numb, Pink is medicated by his doctor so he can perform live. So let's jump into the song and have a look what they've done. So for the intro, he just does 2 bars of the B minor there. So we're probably in the key of B minor, and we'll check that out in the verse. Now it doesn't give us a sad feeling like most minor keys. Normally if we play a minor chord, it's pretty sad. But because of the lift in the keyboard, it gives us more of a dreamy state or a trippy state. So it works really well with the topic of the song. So it's a pretty simple intro, but it works. We're just doing the B minor there. 2 bars. Then we have the verse. Let's have a look at that. So let me just play that first part of the verse for you. And it just plays that through 2 times. So let's bring up the diatonic chords to B minor, and you can see that that works. Now instead of staying on the B minor from the intro, they go to the B sus2 chord and do that for half a bar. Now if you know a sus2, that's not major or minor, so it puts us in an ambiguous state straight away, which again works well with the song lyrics. Then they just add in the D note of the B minor, which is obviously in the key of B minor. Then we have the 7 chord, the A does a bar there. We go to the 6 chord, the G. We do half a bar, and then we have this passing chord G over F sharp. So that stays in key because the F sharp is the dominant note of B minor, and then it drops to the 4 chord, the E minor, and then back to the 1 chord, the B minor. And we just play that through twice. So a great intro and verse. It's a pretty common chord progression for minor, but it gets us in this dreamlike state. So again, works really well with the lyrics, just in the key of B minor. So now let's have a look at the chorus. So now for the chorus, they've done a key change to D, which is just the relative major to B, so it has all the same chords, but now D feels like home instead of the B, because he's jumping to that 1 chord, then playing the 5 and the 1 again, back to the 5 and the 1. So that sets up the key of D major this time. Again, this works well because it gives us a lift out of that dreamy state of the verse and gives us a feeling of happiness using the major key. It's like the drugs have now kicked in and working well. So we have that 1 chord, the D, to the 5 chord, the A, back to the D, and then A again. Now on that second A, we use a passing chord, and it's just an E minor 7 over B. So he's playing an E minor 7, but just not playing the top E string there. So that's the second chord with the submedian, or the 6th, the B added to it. So still all in the key of D major. Then you go to a C chord. Now that's not in the key of D major. But if we have a look at our parallel minors and modes, you can see he's borrowed that from either the natural minor, the Dorian, or the Mixolydian mode, that's C there. Now it doesn't matter which one they took it from, but using the Mixolydian, the C from the Mixolydian, is really common in rock songs. You get this D, C, G chord progression all the time. So we could say that we've borrowed it from that Mixolydian scale, but it doesn't matter, like I said. Then after that C, he goes back to the 4 chord, the G, to the E minor 7 over B again, back to the borrowed C, back to the 4 chord, the G. Then he goes to the 5 chord, the A, but he uses the A sus4 again. So it keeps us wondering, and that A sus4 wants to resolve back to A. So he does half a bar of A sus4, then back to A there. Then he does his E minor 7 over B, so again we're still in that key of D major. Then he goes to a C and 9 chord after that. So it's the borrowed C chord again, and he's adding the tonic in that D. There, that's our add 9. Back to the 4 chord, the G, and then finish on the tonic again, the D, our 1 chord there. So the chorus is very cool in the way it gives us a lift out of the minor key in the verse and does a key change to the D major, and we know that they're just relative majors and minors. And it uses that borrowed 7th chord from the parallel Mixolydian mode, and the rest of it's just the diatonic chords at D major. Then we have the first solo, which is the same chord progression as the chorus. So we stay in the key of D major, so D is going to feel like home for our solo. Now I won't go through all the notes of the solo, but he's mainly using the notes from the D major pentatonic scale. So we have his first position here. He's starting on this second position here. And he's got the 5th position he's using, and he's also using the 4th position there of the D major pentatonic scales. Now he also throws in the G when he does the bend, and he uses a few other G's as well. And he also has a C sharp in there, and again he uses that in a couple of different octaves as well. Now they're part of D major, so they all work well as well. They're not part of the pentatonics, they're just part of the D major scale. Now when he goes to the C chord, which is not in the key of D major, he's using the notes G, F sharp, E, D and B, which are all notes of C major except for that F sharp there. That's not a note in C major. But it is the flattened 5 of C minors. That's going to work really well over the major chord there, that flattened 5. So it works well, and they're also the notes of D major as well. So a great solo, it keeps us in that uplifting state like the chorus. Then we go back to the verse, which is the same as the first verse. So that feeling of happiness has dropped back to our dreamlike state. Then back to the chorus again, that lift. Then to finish off, they go back to the verse again in B minor for the last solo. Now most of the solos played in the first position B minor using the B minor pentatonic scale there. He's also throwing in that flattened 5 as well on the A string, and he also bends on the C sharp up to the D, which are notes from B minor. Then for the last part of the solo, he uses the 1st, 5th and 4th positions of the B minor pentatonic scale, but he's come up high on the neck this time, so he's coming up to the 1st position there. He's got the 5th position, and he's also playing the 4th position there as well. So just notes of those 3 pentatonic scales. So that's a very bluesy sounding solo, and that works really well with those minor chords behind it. And that's it, that's all the parts to the song. So for me, another great song, I'd give that about a 6 out of 10. They're nailing the feeling of the song with the lyrics. They don't just stay in one key, and they're using a borrowed chord. So not just a standard 4 chord progression. So I hope you like that, and if there's any song you'd like me to have a look at, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.